Hey, I'm Avalaura.
And I'm Jessica.
And this is Black Leave America podcast, where we highlight holistic wellness, travel, mental health, and self-care through traveling outside of America to reconnect and rediscover who you are. It's time for us to leave any condition that disrupts our peace. Black Women Leave America opens your eyes and explores new ways of living, but more importantly, new ways of being. Because sometimes you have to leave in order to find yourself. This is Black Women Leave America, where sometimes you have to leave in order to find yourself. I'm your host, Avalaura, and your other host,
I'm Jessica.
Hey y'all, so today we're really excited to have Miss Sha'Cannon with us. Let me tell you, she is a firecracker, so we're gonna have fun like we always do. Shay, thank you so much for being here with us today. Tell our viewers a little bit about yourself.
So I'm so happy to be here. This is a topic that's near and dear to my heart, definitely. So I am Sha'Cannon, and I own my own business. I'm actually a fractional chief operating officer for other small businesses. And so I enjoy being able to do that because I help them to infuse freedom into their business so that it funds their freedom, right? And so my freedom looks like living and working my business from all over the world. And I know we'll get into that, but yeah, I lead by example. So I have my business that's my freedom that's funded by my business, and I help them to have the same.
I love that. I so agree with that as a business owner. I always talk about having a freedom focused business, because why are you in business if you don't have freedom? Like, what's the point? You can work for somebody. Like, it doesn't make sense. So I love that you are absolutely practicing what you preach. And so right now you're in Argentina. So like, how did you get to Argentina? I think you're the first person that we're actually talking to that's been in Argentina. So what is Argentina like? How did you get there, and where were you before that?
Okay, so I was in Mexico before Argentina. I was in Playa del Carmen. You fly into Cancun, and we're on the way to where all y'all cousins them going right now in Tulum. So in between Cancun and Tulum is Playa del Carmen. It's a small beach town. I was there for 3 years. Okay. And then because, everybody started flocking to Mexico during the pandemic and all of that, immigration kind of cracked down. And so what they were saying is, if you're going to be here long term, we need you to go ahead and apply for residency. Well, me and my little freedom, that was just inconvenient for me. Every time I would go home to the United States, the embassy would never have appointments during that time. I had a program in Mexico that I could work, but when I came back after Thanksgiving, they gave me a limited stay based on the crackdowns. And so I no longer, could apply for that program. So I was like, you know what? I am not a tree. I can move. And so this is what I did, y'all. I threw the proverbial, right? Digital dart on the globe. And so all I did was I searched Google, right? I was like, digital nomad, Wi-Fi 2022, right? I need that Wi-Fi, y'all. You got to make this money. So, all this list came up, and I was looking at all the different places, and, they were saying different little places. I was just like, nothing was looking like, the experience that I wanted to have next. Mm-hmm. I'm a beach girl. I love the water. And so I was really looking for water unless something else just caught my eye. And y'all, I got down to the bottom of one of the lists, and it said Buenos Aires, Argentina. And I was like, And I looked at the picture and I said to myself, that looks like, and right as I was saying it to myself, I read the words, the Paris of South America. Oh. Because the architecture is very European and it reminds me of Paris. Now, this is from somebody who's never been to Paris yet, but I've seen the pictures, I've seen the movies. So it looked like Paris to me, right? And so I was like, I'm ready to try this thing. So I booked it, and I came, and y'all, it's a whole new experience. It's a city experience. And so like even right in front of me is a bunch of city apartment condos. And so I get to do things like feeling like I'm in the movies. Y'all know the movies where you're looking and you're in the city and you see other people living their lives all in their different rooms. Even the movies that say, that look like they killed somebody. Let me call the police, and the police don't believe you. You know those movies. So that's what happens in front of my computer daily, right? But I am enjoying the fact that they have so much to offer. They have a lot of museums. They have a lot of things going on, like concerts, and you know, they attract some big names here too. They have nice parks. They love, y'all. I'm from the South. I'm from Alabama, and I thought we liked, you know, our Confederate statues. No, baby, Buenos Aires got statues everywhere. They love some statues, okay? And so it's just a nice cultural experience. And so I'm just really enjoying myself. And so this new little city life in South America is doing me good for now.
Was there anything? I love it.
Listen, if you want to, you can just go into comedy as well. Like you can
right, that's what
your repertoire.
You have had us cracking up since the Zoom room opened. I love it. I love your personality. But you know, what came to mind as you were kind of talking and as we're laughing, every woman that we've spoken to, this shows not only, you know, Black women can leave, all the good things that come along with that, but that we are so different, and how diverse Black women are, like the different personalities and the different ways that we talk about. And it's so funny. And you said the whole move, you're not a tree. We just literally said that on the last call.
Oh, wow.
Literally the last interview. Right.
So it's like, you can have roots and still not be a tree, right? Like you'll always be where you're from, but that doesn't mean you have to always be where you're from.
Yeah. So was there any incident or something that happened where you were like, you know what, it's time to go. It's just time to go.
So what I will say is, we know that living in the United States as Black people, we're not set up for success, right? You know, we're never going to make as much money starting out. And then because you had such a bad start, you're never going to catch up. I mean, even if we're talking about the Black Mecca that is Atlanta, Georgia, because that's where I was last before I left the United States. I mean, yeah, I made six figures, but I still felt like, I don't want to say slave. I still felt like a slave. I didn't know what time I was going home at night. You know what I'm saying? So I used to just rebel a little bit. I think Harriet would have let me go with her, Harriet Tubman, because I was a little rebellious, right? So I used to just come in late. Since I'm not going to know what time I'm getting off every day, I'm just going to come in late with Chick-fil-A.
That would be me. That would so be me.
Just saying, I'm just going to do that, right?
I got to have balance. So you going to play your way, I got to play mine.
Man, look. And so, you know, even corporate America is not like set up for our success. You know, you can't be aggressively going after what you know is best for even their company without looking like the angry Black woman. You know, you can't be, I mean, I don't know, my personality, I could be asking a question and my voice is still going to sound like this, right? I'm sorry, I'm just confident even in asking a question, but it doesn't mean I'm not asking a question. But no matter how I speak, no matter what I do, I'm the angry Black woman. So I would just like to not do that, not even on your behalf, right? So I've always wanted to be a full-time entrepreneur. I've been one in one way or another since I sold candy in middle school. And so I saw freedom in it, but you know how you just go with what people just keep telling you. The system tells you, you're supposed to go to school, you're supposed to go to college, you're supposed to get a good old job, and then you retire, then you live. Man, please. I just felt like I want to start living now. I want to start living now. All those things that they had already told us was stable already was becoming unstable. People had been on jobs for years and getting fired. So all of that, you know, just make it to retirement age. And what we know now is, you know, the Social Security might not even be there when we hit retirement age. So what security are you talking about? What stability? You know? So I was like, you know what? I could always bet on myself. I could always bet on myself. So let me figure out what I want to do. And so I went into business for myself, and I had my first full year, I had already replaced my income, right? And then it came time for me to downsize, and I said, you know, I should be able to go somewhere. It's just me and my youngest son now. I don't need 5 bedrooms. And so I should be able to downsize and save at least $300, $500, right? Come on. No, not unless I want to live in the hood. So that wasn't an option, right? And then it was like, okay, well, that might be the case in Georgia. I could always move home to Birmingham, Alabama and save money on housing. But who the hell wants to move back to Birmingham, Alabama? Again, you can know where your roots are. That don't mean you have to be there. And that's when I realized I was about a year ahead of schedule of living that life that I wanted to live, while I was able to travel. And so I called myself, you know, trying to make it easy on myself. So I picked Belize for my first time out, y'all. I was like, oh, it's, you know, their country's language is English. Now it's not our English, it's the Queen's English, but it's still English. You know, I was like, okay, that's gonna be easy. I can go here. You know, the expenses are low. I can kind of get my feet wet, and you know, I picked somewhere close to the water because I told y'all I'm a little beach girl. And so that was my first time out. And I mean, what I'm gonna tell people is, how about you give yourself an upgrade in lifestyle when you're talking about money conversion, right? So if you're talking about their money is hundreds based on one of your dollars, right? And then you go and then the price of living is low, you get an automatic upgrade to your life, right? And then you're walking around and you don't feel the tension of, you know, making the wrong move. You know, those things we've had to teach our children as they are, you know. I had 3 Black boys. I had to tell them the truth, right? It's okay to have, you know, friends of other ethnicities, but if something happened, baby, you can't be the one holding nothing because they're gonna blame it on you anyway. So I need you to understand where you are in life, right? And so when you go to other countries with other brown people, right, where that country belongs to those brown people, do they have problems? Yes, they do. Is there crime there? Yes, it is. Is it more crime than the United States? Not unless you're right there living and dating and playing with the mafia. No, it's not. And I kept trying to tell people when I went to Mexico, y'all, man, let me tell you, watch out for the cartel. If y'all don't start watching those movies, the cartel is not at the Walmart with me in Mexico. The cartel is not at the taco stand where I'm at. The cartel, look, I'm gonna be like Kanye. The cartel is not selling drugs to drive a RAV4, okay? They not where I'm at, okay? What kind of life do you think I'm living over here? And so, I mean, it's just an at ease, right? Just as being a Black person, but also, let me tell you something about other cultures. They have a culture that is way slower. In the United States, it's like stepping into the matrix. Everything is fast, 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 because it's all about the economics of things, okay? It's all about that well-oiled machine that keeps us at the bottom, where you gotta work, 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 work. You never really rest, because you know, if you rest, you're leaving money on the table. That's a lie, but we'll talk about that another day. So in other countries, they have this culture of just rest, right? The siesta, not just the fiesta, but the siesta, right? And I mean, they take their time doing everything, but when you start to indoctrinate their culture into your way of life and understanding how you just lived a rush life and it's okay, then now I call it the culture of mañana, because they always tell you, oh, we do it mañana. Now, mañana might be a month from now, but I'm just telling you, slow it down.
Like in a minute.
But for me, it's just healthier. It's just healthy. It's healthier for your spirit. It's healthier for your body because you eat real food. You know what I'm saying? Even their fast food places, you know, they're not like the United States, allowing pink slime into the McDonald's hamburger. So your food is better. It's fresher. That's their culture. And so your body is just better off, right? And so I just feel, I don't know, redesigned almost from the inside out. And I feel like it's what I've been waiting for all my life. I really do.
Wow. Woo! Wow, that was a PSA, boy. So
thank you for joining this episode of Black Women Leave America. Like that like literally, mic drop. Gosh.
Wow. So let me ask you this. So how long have you been living outside? I mean, you're still a US citizen, but how long have you been living outside now?
About 4 years.
Okay.
4 years.
And so you've been in Mexico, where else? You've been in Belize and Argentina. Those are 3 places.
Argentina.
You've been more places as well.
No, well, in this episode of life, these are the only places.
Okay. So all right, so let me just ask you, because I know one of the things that you were talking about was dating, and all the single women will want to know. So I have 2 questions. One, where are your sons? And then how has single life been? Particularly, I know you were talking about in Argentina, but you can talk about any of the countries you've been at.
No problem. So when I went to Belize, I was only there 3 months because I went in September. My family was having a fit. My youngest son then was a senior, and so he was with me. But I came home in December and stayed home the whole month for Christmas, you know. But I said, I'm gonna give y'all this Christmas. Y'all might not never see me nanny Christmas, because this is not fun at all. But I did that, and then my youngest son stayed home and you know, went to school, went back to his old high school for the rest of his senior year.
Okay.
So when I came out to Mexico, y'all, that was my first time living by myself, period, in life. So
Wow.
not only was it my first time being in Mexico to live, because I had been there on different vacations, but it was my first time living somewhere by myself. It was my first time putting something down and going back and it was still right there. You know what I'm saying? It was my first time, my leftovers that I know are gonna be well seasoned. The next day I opened the refrigerator and guess what? They were still there, y'all. The leftovers were still there. And so my sons are in the United States. One is in Alabama, one is in Georgia, and both of those are kind of like my home states, right? And one is in Houston, Texas. Now, my youngest son did visit me in Mexico for a few months, but for the most part, he was caught blocking, y'all, because I started dating in Mexico. I didn't date in Belize, but I did date in Mexico. So yeah, I was about ready for him to go home. So let's talk about this dating life, right? What I'm gonna tell you is Tinder is international, y'all. Tinder is international. So I'm one of those that I don't always go out because I love business. I love my Netflix. I like to chill, right? So I don't always go out. So I miss the opportunities to meet people. So I wholeheartedly embrace internet dating, right? Through apps. And Tinder is my app of choice. And I know some people be like, oh, well, Tinder is a hookup app. Baby, all apps are what you make it, okay? So they over there hooking up on Christian Mingle too. So don't.
That's right.
Just saying. So I do like Tinder because I like the interface of the app, right? So the swiping, and I know that, I got Tinder goals, so I can see who like me, all the things, you know what I'm saying? And so what I learned early on is, number one, it don't matter what country you go to, it's Black people there. It's gonna be Black people there. Whether they're Black Americans or from the islands or from Africa, whatever, it's Black folks gonna be there, right? And we find each other and we group up.
Yes, we do.
Now, I'm just gonna tell you, open your mind though. Open your mind, because us Black women, man, we're so fiercely loyal. We call it loyal anyway. We're really what we are is fiercely limited. You're not fiercely loyal, you're fiercely limited, okay? So you think you only want to date Black men. Well, guess what? Black men didn't go to Mexico to date Black women. They did that in the United States. So what you're looking for, you might not find while you're out here in these expat streets, right? So I need you to just think about that. I just need you to think about that. Now, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm just going to tell you think about it, because they not there for you, okay? They had ribs at home. They is in Mexico for tacos, okay? So stop trying to force them folks to be ribs and then crying foul, okay? So what I'm going to say is you're going to have to get used to the new aesthetic in the different countries, right? Because it's not what we're used to. It's not what we're used to looking at. It's not what we call fine. You know what I'm saying? It's not what we think is sexy. They're not what they're showing us on TV all the time. So just like when we go to other countries and all those people know about us is what they saw on TV, half the time when you go to other countries, what you know about them is what you saw on TV. So go on, get on Tinder and just start looking at that.
That is so facts.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna tell you, I did, y'all. I had to get used to it because I just got on Tinder, and I was swiping and I'm looking, and I don't want to be stereotypical and racist to my brown brothers, but I don't want the typical one that looked like they was on TV selling oranges on the side of the road. That ain't what I think is sexy. And so that's not what I wanted to date, y'all. And in the River Maya, just so y'all know, the Mayans, those Indians were short. I'm 6 feet. In the United States, I didn't date short men. So you go abroad, guess what you're gonna have to do? You're gonna have to play with that profile that you like, that's your type a little bit, right? So I had to let some shortness in. Just saying. I had to understand that the Mayans, they have an Indian base, so I had to get used to those Indian features, right? But I mean, I ain't gonna lie to you. I found some fine ones, and some of them was tall, and I had a good time. Another thing I'm gonna tell you is you have to decide, why are you dating?
Yes.
Right? Because in the United States, you were taught to date to marry, right? And if you're nomadic, it's kind of hard to date to marry when you're the one moving all around. But I'm not saying you can't do it, because people do it all the time. But you might want to change it to something a little more fun. How about you date for experiences? Right? Okay. Don't nobody know you in the Mexican streets. He can be ugly, but can he create a great experience for you? Right?
Right.
So another thing that I encountered was, of course, me making the US dollar one thing in the United States I looked for was a provider. That used to be a huge thing. Like, are you a provider? Well, you can't necessarily go to Mexico with that provider mindset because it's almost a reverse sugar baby. You know what I'm saying? Because you're the one with the money. You're the one with the money, right? So I had to really decide, what does that look like? Because, oh my God, y'all can't pay for nothing. And I'm not just used, I'm not, what is this? What? And I was trying to refrain from having a bad attitude and negativity, like this is the ghetto. No, it's just different.
Right.
Right? So how do I live and thrive in these new dating circumstances? So one of the guys that I dated, you know, he was real cool, right? And I just asked him, I said, hey, let me just ask you something, because you're cool and I know you'll tell me the truth. I said, some of your Mexican brethren is around here blocking me on WhatsApp because I tell them no too much, because I make too much money to just bend to their will. They're not used to that, right? I was like, so I'm used to providers. Tell me, what could you provide that's not financial? Well, let me tell you how Brother Man broke it down. He was like, well, I can provide emotional support. I can provide, what else did he say? He said, I can provide companionship. What else did he say? He said, I can provide, you know, fun times or something like that, whatever. And I was just like, now let me see. Because in Mexico, I actually don't need financial support, but I do need emotional support. I do need companionship, and I do need fun times. Like, I need all three of them. So that's when I started to change my thinking to, okay, if I'm going to be here to have new experiences, because it's not just taking in the culture, I need a full life experience. That includes dating. And now I have something to kind of latch on to that makes it a positive thing for me. Experiences. You don't have to have money to show me your culture. I don't know your culture. It's going to be a new experience. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to have money to teach me your language. Y'all, I know I've been in all these Spanish speaking countries, but your girl still speak like a Spanish toddler. But I know everything on the menu though. I know all the food. Let me tell you, I know the food.
The food and the curse words.
I know the food. But, you know, to teach me new things, correct my Spanish and all of those things, take me to have the things I would never know being from the United States, coming to your city in your country. And so I had a ball, y'all, by just changing my thinking to focus on having new experiences, because at the end of the day, that's why I left the United States, to have a new experience. And so, yeah, that dating was great. But I'll tell you one thing, as a Black woman, right? We have so many dynamics in the United States, because it's almost like us versus them, but sometimes it's us versus us, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So being a little light-skinned girl who has naturally curly hair, it's straight right now, but it's naturally curly, right? All my life, I have been told that I'm not really Black, right? You're not really Black, or what else are you? Because you ain't regular old Black, right? So we do that to ourselves. But let me tell you something. I don't care how light-skinned and curly hair you are. When you leave the United States, you Black. You are Black, okay? Let me tell you, the men that I was dating, they saw me as a Black woman. They didn't care nothing about no curly hair. They don't care nothing about what we call good hair versus it's all Black hair. That's what they see, okay? And so that's another thing that was a new experience for me. I got to really be down in my Blackness and not feel like, oh, are they gonna think I'm something else? Now the interesting thing, y'all, is when I would take pictures out and about and post them on social media, guess what all my cousins back home say? You look just like them. You look just like them. Well, they don't think I look like them. They think I look like you. So that's something else for us to consider, right? Like in other countries, Black is Black. They don't care about the shades, none of that. So yeah, new experiences, new life, and I'm loving it.
You know what I love about what you said, and I think this is so important. Like, we're talking about the fact of, you know, a lot of the reasons why people want to leave, right? And I think what happens is we still bring our Americanness with us. And so even though we're talking about leaving and I want to have these experiences, like, you still want things to be the way that you're used to them being in America. And so I love how you really shifted your mindset to say, I am here for something new. And no, I don't want the same thing that I want there. And I don't need the same thing that I want in America. So what can I get here that's going to be beneficial for me?
Yeah.
You know, how can I renegotiate the terms?
Yeah.
I love that.
How can I reshape happiness? All of that.
Yes. Wow. Woo, that was a mouthful. So how are the Argentinian men?
So Argentine. They say they're Argentine.
Argentine, excuse me.
So they are less likely to know English, like all of my little Mexican boyfriends. Most of them knew English, right? It's how they get the better job. It's how, I kind of live close to I live 2 blocks from the beach. So that's the tourist area. You know what I'm saying? So most of them spoke English. Here, baby, I'm over here dating by Google Translate. It's a little struggle sometimes, but we get through it because you know what? You realize that language and communication is more than words. Right. So, you get that when, he looking you up and down like that, you know what that means no matter what country he from. Right. You know what I'm saying? When he, what was one of the guys? He did something when he slowly closed his eyes and opened them back. I was like, oh, he's trying to be sexy. I was like, oh, it's the same. So I kind of felt like it was like the LL Cool J licking your lips as if he was doing it in his ass.
Flirting in another country.
Okay, I was like, but it's working for you, boo. It's working for you.
I love that.
Oh yes, they tend to be taller because it's more European influence here, right? So just like in the United States, we like the ghetto English, and then you go to Great Britain and that's the Queen's English. When you talk in South America in Latin countries, Mexico would be, the ghetto Spanish, and then of course Spain would be the Queen's Spanish. And so they're more apt to the Queen's Spanish and the European influence, which is why the architecture is what it is. But it's a different experience. Whereas in Mexico, I felt a little more rooted, right? Because they the brown like us, you know what I'm saying? So, but here they're more of the lighter complected Spanish with that European influence. So that's a little more uppity. And so, yeah, it's a different experience. So when you go to countries, no matter where you go, how the US treat Black people, period, no matter what country you go to, there's going to be a marginalized community. Now, there are still going to be Black people within the marginalized community, but they have their own version of a local, marginalized community. And so it's crazy to see, actually. Now, I will tell you, you said something that was key. And you said sometimes we bring our baggage from the US where we go. I have had people to tell me, oh, I heard Buenos Aires was racist. They're not racist. I heard they just blatantly racist. Well, sometimes the color that people recognize is green. Like, where are you living when you feeling all this racist stuff? Sometimes you got to stop listening to these bloggers telling you go to different places and live off $300 a month. Sometimes you need to, because wherever you at for $300 a month might be where the racism is. I don't know, but that ain't where I'm at, is what I'm gonna say. So one thing I can tell you is that green allows me a different life, and I take full advantage. I didn't just want a life of travel. I wanted a life on vacation. So I don't do domestic stuff. I don't wash clothes. I don't cook. I don't clean. I don't do none of that, right? I like cocktails. I think when I think of vacation, I think experiences, excursions, a cocktail with an umbrella, beach and different things. And I think when you're in a hotel, you don't clean. Like you don't do any of that stuff. And I decided that's what I wanted. So I don't want to just travel. I want a life on vacation. So no, I'm not living in a $300 a month place. I'm living in a place with nice furniture. This is not a digital background. This is actually a condo, right? I like modern furniture in my condos. I like a view. You know what I'm saying? I like to step out and be right on the strip, right in the thick of things. And so it colors my experience more so than my skin. So do people look at me sometimes and they wonder, how did you get here? I wonder what your story is. Of course, but let me ask you something. If you were in a place and you saw someone that didn't look like who you're used to seeing, don't you look? Don't you stare? Everything is not racism. Some things is curiosity. Some things is, she's beautiful. I don't know what she is. I don't know where she came from. She's a Black woman. I wonder what her story is. How did she get here? Is she on vacation? Does she live here? Where I go get my nails done in the little ritzy part of town, they realize I live here now, y'all. So they treat me a whole different way when they saw me the first time and was like, oh, interesting, right? And then they kept saying, now they trying to talk to me. Baby, it's not relaxing at all, because I'm like, just, y'all don't got enough English and I don't have enough Spanish. Can I just get my nails done? But when you have a presence that's a consistent presence, people start to try to accept you and adopt you in and understand. And if you take everybody's attempt to understand as racism, that's you and not them. And so, yeah, we have to look at that too.
That was
A
powerful.
whole masterclass, a whole one. And I love what you said about the experience and then what folks can give to you and then our framing of it in America, right? Like you said, if you're there for experiences, then that's a part of the experience. Dating is a part of that experience. So Avalaura asked this in one of our other interviews, but I want to ask you here, what are the negative parts, or maybe not negative, but some of the things that you feel like may not be things that you thought were going to happen, or things that you felt like, oh, I didn't know that this was going to happen, but it's here, right? Not the not so pretty things that we don't hear about.
One thing I will say, and it's not country specific, it's just your experience. We're so electronic centric, right? And when we go to these other countries, their electronics aren't either as good as ours, aren't as affordable as ours as far as what we can get for it. And what I never thought was when my son came to Mexico and I went to replace his laptop. Y'all, all that stuff was in Spanish. The keyboard was different. We didn't think nothing about that, right? Didn't even think about it. And so there's that. I'm
so funny. I can't even imagine.
We were in that store so long, y'all. They was trying their best to switch everything over to English, but some things are just going to innately stay Spanish, like the configuration of the keyboard and stuff. And so I was just like, oh, this is okay, cool. I've even had, so you can't, there are certain things you have to wait and touch back down into the United States to get, right? Another thing is going to be my clothing shopping experience, y'all. I know I see people with bigger butts and wider hips than me, but I don't know where the hell they get their clothes from, because every mall have little people clothes, okay? And I'm just like, it's nothing I can do with this. Like, it's nothing. I'm juicy. I need clothes that fit juicy people. I don't know what this, I need where the thick people clothes at. So that's where it comes in handy to have friends who live where you are, to indoctrinate yourself to where you are connecting with people, because you can ask questions and find the things that you need. Now, I'm going to tell you, there is a source. There's almost a Facebook group for anywhere you want to go that have expats, okay? So I'm gonna tell you to do two things. If you're thinking about being an expat and living in another country, number one, find a group that says expats in intercity, intercountry, right? But what I want you to know is if it says expats in, like everything else in the United States, then probably white people, okay? So you also need to find Black expats in, okay? And this is what I'm gonna tell you, the secret sauce is, don't really talk in the white people group. The white people group is good for resources, okay? It's good for resources. If you wanna know where the best dentist is, the best this, the best that, you go in the white people group and you search, and if you got to, then you ask. But them folks ain't good to each other, so they not gonna necessarily be good to you when you post. And it's not racism. Again, everything is not racism. Some things is just, they not good people. If you look in those groups and see how they treat each other, you will realize how so much that has happened to you at the hand of white people wasn't racism. It was just that they wasn't a good person, period.
Some people just don't know how to treat other humans.
I'm just saying, most of them don't. It seems to gather a lot of them in the masses of that particular ethnicity, but I'm just gonna leave that there. But ours is going to tell us where we can get products for our hair, and where the good food is and where the party at, you know what I'm saying? But you're going to need other resources, and so that's one way to do it. So that's another thing. So electronics and resources are not what you think, and like I said, neither are country specific. I will tell you, I've not had very bad experiences going to any country. But I also am the type of person that don't go looking for bad experiences. So if I can impart anything, anywhere you go, look for the great experience, be open to new experiences, and make sure that you're seeing things through the lens of, they're not doing something to me, I must not understand what's going on. I don't know everything behind what's happening. So I've not had bad experiences. I've had inconveniences.
I think all of that is part of the mental shift. And it's probably easier again when we get outside of the US because it's not so, everything here is kind of just so black and white, and when you are just constantly going and kind of stuck in the rat race, you tend to be a little bit more negative, right? And have a more negative outlook. And so, I mean, hell, you there in the sun, in the ocean, slower pace, it's kind of easier to be more positive and say, okay, I didn't like this, but it's going to be okay. I'm going to be all right. I can deal with this.
Right? It's the rat race. The rat race doesn't allow you the luxury of figuring things out. Whatever your initial thought was, you keep it and move on. You know what I'm saying? So if you thought that was effed up, you're not afforded the time to see, was it really effed up? Was that them? Was it me? Could it have been better? Am I looking at it wrong? No, the rat race means you got to keep going. So all you know was it was F up. You keep that and keep moving. And so you might start to see a string of effed up things and think that life is effed up.
Yep. That's a word. That's a whole word. But what I want to ask you about, what one of the other women talked about, do you ever get lonely there?
I don't, but I understand why people ask me that, right? So I don't know if I'm just a different type of person.
Let's say yes.
And I'm gonna go ahead and get yeah, I probably I'm gonna get a little psychological, right? A lot of people need people around them because they don't know who they are. A lot of people need people around them because they don't like who they are. A lot of people like a lot of people around them because they don't know who they are without people telling them or without their associations to other people. So for me, I enjoy myself. Like I can sit here and crack up. I told y'all people watch. I'd be in here making up whole movies in my head about what's going on in these folks' houses, right? I done figured out which one of these apartments must be an Airbnb because that light don't come on except for like once a month or so. So I'm creative. I can entertain myself, right? And I like myself, and I know myself well, so I know the things that make me happy. Like I've made a happiness list. Some of y'all might have a bucket list, but what's your happiness list look like? Because bucket list means it might be a one in a lifetime chance, but you need to be happy every day. What's your happiness list looking like, right? So I know when I start feeling a funk coming on, oh, I need to have a dance party today. Let me have a Whitney Houston concert. I just know the things that make me happy. And those things are not contingent on other people. When you connect your happiness to people, that's giving away a lot of power. So I love people, but I don't have to be around people. Plus, in this day and age, y'all, I Zoom all day long with people. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking to people all day long. Like I told you, no matter where you go, there are going to be Black people. There are going to be expats from the United States in different places. We have groups here that get together, and I don't always go out when they want to go out, right? But if you need opportunities not to be lonely, I think they are there. But I think it kind of is like that saying, bored people are boring.
Yes.
I feel like lonely people just got a lonely spirit. I don't know. I don't know how to say it, but I feel like you never have to be alone. So if you are alone, sometimes you need to reassess them highfalutin bougie ass boundaries you got that's keeping people out that could be there with you. So that might be one thing. And another thing is, do you have the type of personality and spirit and energy that people want to be around? So sometimes you got to check yourself. No matter what country you go to, you're taking that funkiness with you. So check yourself.
Okay, so as we kind of wrap up, man, you have just been, yeah.
I mean, y'all gotta be laughing because I've been laughing this whole dang time. I'm sorry.
You have made me laugh to cry. Like that does not happen to me very easily. Like there's only a couple of comedians that can really take me there, and you've been one of them today.
Sha'Cannon is one of them. Okay, we just add her to the comedian list.
But I do want to ask a question because as a mom, I start to think of, I'm a mom of 6, right? And I start to think of, oh, wow, having the kids away from me. Do you ever feel any, and I feel like you probably don't, but I'm gonna ask this anyway. Do you ever feel any mom guilt, or how do your sons kind of feel about you kind of being away from them and out of the country?
I don't really feel mom guilt, but it's because I was a very sacrificial parent, right? I don't really pull the single mother card often, but doing a two-person job by yourself is exhausting, right? And then having 3 boys that are going to be Black men in this world, come on, add some more exhaustion on top of that, right? So I have always kind of raised them to be independent, to get ready for the world while trying to keep pieces of themselves. But I ain't gonna lie to you, I've been waiting for this empty nester thing. And so mom guilt, I don't tend to have it. All of them are grown now. My phone, y'all, my ringer don't even be on. So I adapted that from my grandmother. I don't know about your grandmother, but my grandmother, her phone is never on because her phone is for outgoing things and things she wants to do on her phone. Her phone is not for you to call her. You know what I'm saying? Or to have any interruptions. I have adopted that early. And people say, you don't have your ringer on. What if your kids have an emergency? That's what 911 is for. What the hell am I doing from Argentina? You like, what do you mean? They grown. What do you mean? So I don't have the mom guilt. And we have established already that y'all have told me I'm different. But I feel like a part of freedom.
You said it, I just agreed.
I know, right? But I feel like a part of the freedom is, at what time do you make it your time?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so I'm serious about that. And so all of those little things that we used to do that made us self-sacrificial and made us super parents when we were doing all that, I've let all of that go because it's my time. I can't live in both of those worlds. And if this is not my time, and I'm 50 years old now, y'all. So on October the 3rd, I will turn 51. And guess what? It's my time. If I don't do it now, when will I do it? So it's the same thinking that got me out of corporate America before retirement age. I have to make everything my time now. I don't want to wait until I'm so old that my kids don't want to be bothered with me. And now it's finally my time and I'm decrepit as hell and can't do nothing, right? No, this is my time. They got 911. They got all the things I raised them to do. They have all the decision making I've taught them to do. And guess what? If you old and the only dependable person you have in your life is your mama, then I have failed you. You should have other dependable people in your life. So there's that.
Ooh. Wow, that was yes. I'm gonna just say yes. Just say yes. I don't even need to add nothing to that.
A whole bar. A whole
I'm glad you asked that question, Jessica, because yeah, I think for a lot of women that's the reality. They do carry the mom guilt, and they're enmeshed. You know, there is that enmeshment where they're living for their kids, their husband, their job, you know, whatever, their parents, you know, whatever it might be. And so releasing that and letting go of that so that they can live their own life. And so I hope that your words and your experience will be inspiration for them to just say, yeah, like, when is it going to be my time? Like, this can be my time right now. I get to choose that. It's not on someone else's terms, it's on my terms.
Exactly.
So thank you for that.
You are welcome.
This has been amazing. Do you have any, we have to hop into, but as we kind of bring this to a close, and you said oh my gosh, you said so much. I think I could just sit here and listen to you talk about dating all day, but are there any last thoughts that you would want to, or any tips, I guess I should ask, that you would want to give to a woman who is like, yeah, you know what, I think it's time. What is one of the first steps they should take?
So for me, I think that the biggest thing that you need to decide for yourself is, why do you want to leave America, right? What experiences in America don't you want to have anymore? Who is it that you are in America that you don't want to be anymore? When you think of leaving America, what is that experience? Go ahead and describe it to yourself and write it down so that when you're picking the places to go, they can encompass that experience that you said that you wanted. I think that that's going to be the first step, because so many people, like I've even had people to say, oh, you're in Mexico, I'm gonna come to Mexico. Baby, I don't want to take care of nobody. Just pick a country based on the experience that you want to have, not based on who you know that's there. That's how you move in the United States. You know what I'm saying? So decide what is the experience that you want to have, what are the experiences that you don't want to have, and let that guide you, because it's all about having new experiences so that you can be a new person, more fulfilled, more of the things that you want to be. You can't do that doing the same thing just in a different place.
Yeah, I like that. And, you know, that just kind of speaks to what you were talking about. Like some people do want to be a digital nomad where they're living off $300 a month or whatever. And that's okay. If that's their experience that they want, right? That's not what I would want, but that's okay for some people. And I think that you just kind of have to be real with yourself about what it is that that you do want, and be intentional about that. Because I think you're right. Like a lot of people are not intentional about that here. We just kind of fall in, you know, wherever we are, and we just stay stuck even if we're not happy. And so if you're going to leave, at least be intentional about what you now want to create for yourself and why you're doing it.
Exactly.
But yeah, I'm with you. I want that vacation life too.
But I ain't gonna lie, it's good. It's as fun as it looks. I ain't gonna even lie.
I'm not trying to cook, clean. I don't do it. Yeah, I mean, I probably pay out the wazoo for it now, but I refuse.
Mm-mm. Well, that's the good thing. If you go to another country, you're probably not paying out the wazoo for it. That's another thing. It's an automatic upgrade in lifestyle. So there you go.
Yeah. Jessica, you got any other questions?
I don't. I'm, you know, I think, you know, this is why we do this podcast. Like you really truthfully embodied why we do this podcast. It shows so many different sides and so many different layers. So I think you're right. I mean, to end this, I would just say that if you don't fully understand or know what you want, then this is the time for you to reach out to somebody like Avalaura, have that conversation, get clear and get some clarity around that, and then go on and leave and bounce and go wherever it is you need to go, whether it's in the United States or not, or in America or not, you know, and find out what that is and identify what that is. I feel like a lot of us kind of do just drift in America because this is what we're used to and this is what we're comfortable in. We're like, oh, we got no choice. This is the cards that were dealt. Nah, you can reshuffle that deck and you can get out of it. So Avalaura, I'll pass it on to you.
Y'all, thank you for watching. This has been awesome. Shay, thank you so much for your presence, for your words, for your entertainment. I have gotten the laugh of my life. So thank you for that. Thank y'all for watching. Your time is precious. We appreciate you. And until next time, peace.